The story of Babel is more than an ancient tale. What if I told you there was once a time when all of humanity spoke one language, thought with one mind, and dreamed with one ambition? No barriers, no divisions, but a world united by one voice. Together, they set their sights on the heavens themselves. With fire and clay, they made bricks stronger than stone. With pride in their hearts, they began to build a tower that would pierce the skies. Not to honor God, but to make a name for themselves. But the higher they climbed, the closer they came to judgment, and the God of heaven would come down to confront them. This isn't just the story of a building left unfinished. It's the story of pride, rebellion, and God's power to humble humanity. This is the story of the Tower of Babel. In the earliest days of humanity after the Great Flood, when Noah and his sons had stepped out of the ark, the world was once again fresh and new. The flood had cleansed the earth of widespread corruption and violence. From the three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, every nation of the earth would be repopulated. Generations passed, and the children of these men multiplied. Eventually, they came upon a broad and fertile plain in the land of Shinar. This region, known later as Mesopotamia, was a place of rich soil between the great rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. The plain was wide and flat, perfect for large settlements and cultivation. The people said to one another,
"Come, let us settle here in this land. Let us build."
There was, however, a difficulty in this land. Unlike the hills and valleys of Ararat, where Noah's ark had rested, this plain had no abundance of stones to use for construction. But the ingenuity of man quickly solved the problem. They discovered that by molding clay into bricks and firing them in kilns, they could create strong building blocks. And instead of mortar, they used tar and bitumen, sticky substances from the earth, to hold the bricks together.
"Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly,"
they said, and they began to build. It was a discovery that changed their course. Stone was scarce in the flatlands of Shinar, but bricks could be made endlessly. Encouraged by this new power, the leaders declared,
"Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth."
Here we see the heart of their sin. Their unity was their strength, their ambition, their fuel. Their goal was not simply to survive, nor even to innovate. It was pride. They wanted to make a name for themselves, an enduring legacy that would place them in the heavens among God. They feared being scattered, though God himself had commanded mankind to spread across the earth. In direct rebellion, they sought security, greatness, and identity apart from him. This was humanity's first great collective act of defiance since the flood. Where before individual men had sinned, Cain with Abel, the violent men of Noah's day, now all humanity joined together in rebellion against God. The city and its tower symbolized more than buildings. They were monuments to human arrogance, an attempt to dethrone God and establish man as supreme. And so, brick by brick, their rebellion began. Day after day, men labored together. Bricks were stacked, tar applied, walls raised. The tower began to take shape. Higher and higher it climbed, tier upon tier, like a great mountain of man's own making. Around the tower, the city thrived. Streets were laid with precision. Houses rose, marketplaces bustled with trade. It became a place of industry, a hub of humanity's ambition. And in the center, always looming above, was the tower, the pride of the people, the symbol of their unity, the defiance of their hearts. But the Lord, who sees all things, was not blind to their plans. He looked upon the city and the tower rising into the heavens. The scripture tells us, "The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built." This statement is deeply ironic. The people thought they were building a tower so high it would reach to heaven, yet the Lord still had to come down to look at it. In other words, even their greatest efforts, their highest ambition, was still nothing compared to His majesty. And the Lord spoke, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's speech." This was not a fear that humanity could rival God's power, but it was justice and wisdom. It was the recognition that in their prideful unity, there would be no limit to the depth of sin and rebellion they could pursue. With a single language and collective ambition, their corruption would spread unchecked. For their sake and for the preservation of His purposes, God acted with authority and purpose. Then, in an instant, the order of the world shifted. The tower, the city, the bustling workforce, all froze, as if time itself had stuttered. One man called for bricks, and the worker beside him shook his head in confusion. Another shouted for mortar, but no one understood. Words became meaningless sounds, and commands were ignored. Plans faltered, shouts rang through the streets, but none met comprehension. Bricks clattered to the ground. Kilns hissed with molten tar, spilling over in chaos. Turmoil broke out where unity had once reigned. Confusion spread. The marketplace burst into panic. Groups began to form, each understanding only those who shared their new speech. Misunderstanding turned to frustration, and frustration turned to anger. Friends turned on one another, bewildered by the sudden breakdown of communication. The tower, once climbing steadily, stood frozen, incomplete. And so the people scattered. Unable to communicate, families and clans drifted apart. Some journeyed north, others south, others east or west. They spread across the plains, into the mountains, to the coasts and islands, each group carrying with them its own language, its own identity. The city was left behind, its tower unfinished, a broken monument to pride. And its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world, and from there He scattered them over the face of the earth. The Tower of Babel stands as a timeless lesson in human pride and divine sovereignty. The people were united, but their unity was not in God, it was in rebellion. They worked together, spoke as one, and built a monument to themselves. Yet true unity can only be found in God, and pride always leads to destruction. They sought to make a name for themselves, forgetting that it is God alone who gives a name and exalts the humble. No human ambition, no matter how great, can reach the heavens.